Hey guys, it's Sam. Welcome back to my channel. So today I thought it would be really fun to do another full face of one brand of makeup. Now this is going to be close to a full face of one brand because this particular brand is very new and actually doesn't have exactly enough to make a full face, and the two products that they are missing are a powder, so like a setting powder, and also a bronzer. So I just pulled in a couple of like my favorites that I know aren't really gonna affect any of the wear or any of the placement or longevity of the products today, because this is a brand I have never tried before. So not only are we doing a full face one brand of makeup, we are doing a full face first impression of the Selena Gomez Rare Beauty makeup line. This line came out, I believe, in the summertime. It's been out for a little while, but with the VIB Rouge sale that just happened, I thought it was the perfect time to get my hands on a ton of these products. What I really like about this brand is that it's all very natural looking makeup. That is kind of my niche in makeup. I like to be very lightweight, very natural. And even though the foundation in this is a medium coverage, it does have a natural finish. So I really like that. I really like the whole idea behind Rare Beauty. To me, it is just about, anybody out there celebrating what it is that makes you rare and unique. Even if it's maybe something that you don't like about yourself, it is part of you and you are beautiful the way that you are. And, that's what's important. We are all unique. We are all rare. And to try and be somebody's cookie cutter idea of beauty is, it's not a realistic thing, because beauty is in the eye of the beholder and everybody has a different idea of what they find beautiful. And it's just so important, I think, for, somebody who has such a following and a voice in this world like Selena Gomez to make it very, very clear that she is like, I have my flaws. We all have our flaws. No matter what your hair color is, skin color, eye color, do you have bigger lips? Do you have smaller lips? I mean, somebody once told me that I had no lips. Like, no matter what it is, to just be true to you and be comfortable in your own skin. And I really, really like the message that she backs on this. Also, something that I did hear, a lot of these products, which I'm going to start showing you guys in a second, as we go through and use them, have like a lid on them that somebody said was to make it easier for people to get into it. Like if you've got arthritis or, issues with mobility in your hands and things like that, these are supposed to be easier to open. I don't know if that is true. I actually thought that I heard somewhere along the way that somebody asked Selena Gomez if that was true, and she said she wished it was, but she was just trying to keep the packaging very, very simple, very, very plain, very, about the makeup and not about the outside of the makeup. So having said all of that, let's start getting into this look, because I've been rambling for long enough now. The first thing I got is what is this called? Always an Optimist Illuminating Primer. So it's a universal gel primer that has extra fine pearls in it. I picked up the mini size just because I didn't know if I would like it. I didn't know if I wouldn't like it. So for me, when I'm trying new products, I always just like to, if there's a mini size available, until I know that I love it, it just seems easier than wasting the product. So this is what all of the packaging looks like. It is plastic, it is frosted, it's got kind of like a tinted pink lid. And this is what the product itself looks like. It's kind of got like a peachy pink, pearlescent sort of a glow to it. I really like the texture. It is gel-like without being like super thick. So not gel in the same sense that like that Cover FX Grip Primer or the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer are. Those are very, very gel-like primers. This one is just kind of just that right amount where it's gonna grip, it's gonna hold on to your makeup, your foundation, whatever it may be, but it's also not gonna make you super sticky or feel really gunky or anything like that. Like, it's very, very lightweight. So the next thing that I got is the Liquid Touch Foundation. I got mine in the shade 210N, which is a light medium with a neutral undertone. Honestly, this might be a bit too dark for me. We're gonna kind of have to see. It's very difficult when you're trying to match shades online and whatnot. So I did read that you are supposed to shake this up really well. It has that ball in it that like nail polish has. You guys can hear that? You're supposed to shake it up really well to make sure the pigments are all infused really good, and then dot it on your face and blend out from there. It does recommend using, obviously, the Rare Beauty products. So she's got a brush out, and I believe also a blending sponge. But I just got my own brushes, my own sponges. One thing I'm not a big fan of, and this is just, you know, the case for me personally with all kinds of makeup, I'm not a fan of foundations that have a doe foot applicator. Just for me, I would prefer to pump it onto a little tray and then dip my brush in from there. But since this is the way it is, we're gonna do it the way they say to. I'm just going to be using a Too Faced Natural Face whatever palette, just because it's got a nice big mirror on it. So I'm gonna just dot this in a few places that I know I need some coverage, especially if my chin is crazy broken out right now. Wearing masks all the time, you know, it can't be good for anybody, I don't think, but for me, I find that it is really, really making me break out. So the color is actually not bad. It's very difficult to tell because I pull so light in some areas and so like red in other areas, that I guess once it all evens out and is one color, it is pretty much the color of this foundation, so that's kind of nice. It is very, very thin. I'm actually gonna have to put a whole bunch more on. This is more than I would normally use, but it is very thin. It blends out very, very natural. I think so anyways. It doesn't feel like you have anything on. Having said that, I am going to go back in with a beauty blender that is slightly damp. I just feel like for a lot of foundations, especially for some of the thinner consistency foundations, using a brush can give you a ton of like streaky marks or brush stroke marks. And this is a really, really good way to get a nice even blend. So that is the foundation on. First thing I am noticing, it did get rid of a lot of that redness in my nose. Obviously, it didn't fully cover what's going on my chin, but we've got some concealer to try and cover that up. So I picked up 2 shades of the concealer. I picked up a lighter shade in 130N and also in 210N, which is the same color as the foundation. Just because I wanted to have one color sort of for under my eyes to kind of give a brightening effect, and then I wanted the other color for the rest of my face. Also, I didn't mention it, but this was sort of the packaging I was talking about where it's got that nice like ball on it, makes it really easy to grip and let go of. I don't know that it makes a difference, but if that's the point of it, it is a really good idea. These are quite similar, except it's more of like an oval shape on top or like a disc instead of a full ball. So like I said, I got one color lighter than the other. Let's hope that the packaging is just distorting this color a little bit and it's not actually that light, because that might be a little bit too fair for me. This concealer is supposed to be brightening and hydrating as well, which is really, really nice for some of those areas that you always want to conceal, such as under your eyes. It's nice to have a little bit of a hydration effect there. Also for me, a lot of my breakouts and things like that tend to be very dry, and I do have naturally just dry skin. So knowing that it's hydrating concealer makes me feel a little bit better, because there are some concealers that when they dry down, they just cling to those like areas that you are trying to hide and actually make them look even more obvious, if you know what I mean. And I hate concealers like that. So I've just put in that brighter color underneath my eyes and the other color sort of everywhere else. I'm gonna start by blending in that light color. So it blends in really, really nicely, very, very brightening. I wouldn't say that this is necessarily full coverage, like I can still see a lot of my dark circles, but it certainly does mute them a bit. The real test is gonna be right here. So it definitely did cover that bright red zit that I had sitting right there that I've been picking at for days, and I know I shouldn't be. It brought it down, but I wouldn't say it covered it completely, and I definitely have had other foundations that do. Another thing I'm kind of noticing is in and around my nose area, I have this one giant pore that always seems to be there, and it seems like the foundation is almost amplifying that a little bit, and I find that it's clinging a little bit to some dryness around my nose. I'm not a big fan of that, but who knows, you know, that could just be for right now. So these are the two products that we're gonna use that are not part of this line. So I've got a setting powder for under my eyes and the rest of my face, anywhere that I put, particularly that concealer. I'm just using Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Setting Powder just because it's my favorite. It seems to work with every other foundation I have. So if there is a problem, it's more likely to be an issue with the Rare Beauty product than it is with the translucent powder. Also, it didn't come with a bronzer. There's no bronzer in this line, so we're just going to use the Too Faced Sweetie Pie bronzer. Again, it's just another really, really soft, light bronzer that isn't going to add too much color, so it's not going to take away from what the foundation is doing. It's just going to allow me to build up a little bit of shading on my face. I just put a really, really light amount on. Now we can get back into some more Rare Beauty products. So the next product that we are going to try to use is the Brow Harmony Pencil and Gel. So it is a double-sided pencil. So on one side you get one of these, like, if this will focus, there we go, like teardrop triangle shape crayons. And on the other side, it looks like a spoolie with a gel in it. I picked the color, what did I pick? Soft Blonde. It might not be the right color for me. I'm normally taupe in a lot of things, but it actually looks like it might be okay. So we'll kind of just see. I'm gonna bring you guys a little closer here, just so, oopsies, knocked my camera over. Just so that you guys can kind of see what it looks like as I'm putting it on. So actually, I think the color is pretty near perfect for me, which is very exciting, because I find that depending on, this is something I've said before that I wish like brands would do, and I kind of understand why they can't do this, but I really, really wish that like there was universal colors in like across all brands. Like, you know how tampons have a universal size chart where a super in any tampon is going to be good for the same flow no matter what brand you get. I sort of wish that there was more consistent shades across all lines of makeup. So if you're taupe in one brand, you're taupe in every brand, or same thing with foundation. It would just make life so much easier. And I think particularly more now that we are doing so much shopping online, because, you know, in some places you can't get to stores, or maybe you're like me and you're just not doing any unnecessary shopping out and about. So because you don't want to go out and unnecessarily, you know, maybe expose yourself to the risk of COVID, you know, maybe you have elderly grandparents or parents or whatever, it's getting more and more difficult, and it's very, very hard to know what your color match should be based online. It's very difficult. You kind of have to just guess based on the swatches you see, and sometimes you can be dead on right, and sometimes you can be so wrong. So I am actually going to use a little bit of that brow gel as well. I normally don't, but I kind of want to see what that's all about. I like the color a lot. It's very cool toned, like ashy, sort of blonde. It is, oh geez, okay, so it's very juicy. That is one thing I will say, and I noticed that when I pulled it out of the containers, a lot of containers have a little bit of a better sort of suction as you pull it out, meaning that you're not going to get a crazy amount of product on it. This has a lot, but that's okay. I can just get another spoolie and just kind of brush it through, brush out any excess. Also, I know my eyebrows are looking a little crazy right now. It's gonna take me a while to get used to that texture. I do really like it. The gel went on very easy. There was no tugging, no anything like that that you do get with some brow pencils that can make it a little difficult. I did really like it, but it's gonna take some getting used to. Next thing is going to be the Soft Pinch Blush. So I got the shade Happy. This is honestly not the shade that I would have chosen if I had had my pick out of all of them, but a couple of the other shades that I did really like. There was one really nice neutral shade called Bliss. it was sold out and I didn't want to wait because I knew I wanted to film this video. I love liquid blushes. I'm very excited to see how this goes. So again, it's just on another doe foot applicator. So there's always two ways you can go about doing this. Actually, maybe three. You can put it straight onto your face and do it that way. You can put it on your finger and kind of use that, or you can put it on a beauty blender. I'm going to do a direct to face, just a couple of dots. Got a hair stuck in my... And then I'm just going to use my finger and kind of blend it in and blend it out. I really like the color. I think it's a really, really, oh Jesus, pretty. I got it way down on this cheek. Oh well. It's really pretty. It definitely gives you that really blush look. I think the application is bad, but that's my bad, not anybody else. Like, it's not a fault of the product. I'm just kind of using my beauty blender, which is still a little damp, to try and like manipulate some of that product, blend it out a little more. So it is super, super pigmented. I think it's called a soft pinch. Is that what I called it? I don't know that I would call this soft. Maybe it's just the color that I picked. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying I think I thought it would be a little less pigmented, but in the end it looks really, really nice. Very, very natural, like a natural kind of a flush. So I'm pretty happy with that. Next product is another liquid product. This is the Positive Light Liquid Highlighter, or excuse me, Liquid Luminizer. This is in the shade Mesmerize. It is supposed to be, I can't even get it open, like a pink, rose gold, rose bronze. I can't totally remember, and now I can't get it open. Like, the sticker is just breaking apart. So this is the color I ended up deciding on. There are 6 different shades. This is the Selena's favorite shade. So I thought, whatever, I'll give it a shot. And I always seem to like those kind of pinkish tones. So I'm going to put this in the same places that I would put any kind of a highlighter. And I'm just sort of seeing how crazy it is. I just put the tiniest little drop on my nose. I don't think it's doing a ton, so that means I just need a little more, which is, that's probably too much. Yeah. So it's a really interesting formula. It feels almost like an oil in an interesting kind of a way. And what I mean by that is, like, you start blending it in and it just melts into your skin. It's not like sitting on top of the foundation. It almost is like mixed in with the foundation. I think it would be really interesting to see what would happen if you did just take a drop or two of that and mix it straight in, like maybe put a couple dots of the foundation on and then a couple dots of the Illuminizer and blend it all together with a brush. I think that would be really pretty, but I really like the way it's sitting. I think you could amp it up or make it a little bit more subtle, as I have tried to do. Did I succeed? Don't really know. So now that our face is done, I did really quickly realize that there are 2 other products that she did not launch. One being any sort of an eyeshadow primer. So I just used my MAC Painterly Paint Pot. I've already got that on just to make our lives a little more simple. And I also realized she did not have a mascara in her line yet, which again is no big deal. I will just use one of the many that I already have. So now we're gonna get into the eyeshadow palette. There were 2 that she launched, one that was more pink and purple, and then there was this one. This is the Confident Energy eyeshadow palette. If you want to see any swatches of any of the products, also, I'm filming this before I do my VIB Rouge haul, but the Rouge haul should already be up on my channel. So I'm not swatching during this video just because it would make the video way too long, but I probably maybe will during that video if you guys want to see it. So this is what the Confident Energy palette looked like. It's kind of like rainbow-ish, but it's got some of those blues and greens that I really like. My one thing that I will say, it is obviously an all shimmer palette, which is not my favorite, but I just love the packaging. It's kind of got a little bit of a raised surface, really cool, beautiful pattern. I really like that. Feels really good quality, nice big mirror, and not super heavy either. So if you like an all shimmery palette and you're looking for something more fun with more colors, this might be a really good travel palette. I hadn't thought much about what we would do today, so we'll just do something very simple. So first things first, I'm going to take the color Elevate. It's sort of this like creamy white sort of a color, and I'm just gonna kind of buff that. Wow. Okay, let's discuss this. I gotta get closer to you. You need to see what this is. Like, how beautiful of a shimmer. And these are a very, I know I said I wasn't going to swatch them, but they're a very interesting texture. They don't have any fallout whatsoever. I just put my thumb in it. Of course I did, what an idiot. So they're very, very soft, but even having done what I just did, which is put a huge gouge in it and then flatten it back down, it's almost like a creamy kind of a formula because there's no fallout. It went on nicely with a brush. It blends out nicely with a brush, like the brush isn't getting gunked up because it's creamy. It's not creating really any fallout at all underneath my eyes. It's just blending it out, and you can amp it up, obviously, as you can with any kind of shadow like this by using just your finger, or you can use a brush and get a more muted, toned down look. I'm really liking this. Like I said, I literally hadn't looked into this at all prior to just putting it on my eyes right now. I'm gonna keep going in just with some brushes because I like to see how they react with brushes. I'm gonna go into this kind of golden yellow sort of a tone. Wow, these are really nice. Like I said, I'm normally not a big fan of all shimmer shadows, and I don't know how cohesive the palette is as a whole. Like, I don't imagine you would get very many super neutral kind of looks out of it, but for a fun color, like palette with some pops of color, I'm really enjoying this so far. Let's get into that beautiful, beautiful green. Yeah, this shadow quality seems to be really, really nice. Again, much like pretty much everything else in this collection, I think it's going to take some getting used to that kind of a texture because it is very different than really a lot of textures I've seen before. I know that there's a ton of brands that put out really, really nice shimmer or metallic shadows that are very, very creamy, such as Natasha Denona. But there's still a ton of fallout. There's still a powder product, but these are like a weird hybrid of like a cream to a powder sort of a thing. Really, really pretty. I'm just taking some of that pink and popping it. Like, how gorgeous is that pink? Wow. Okay, I'm super impressed by this palette. I'm just gonna take some of that dark, kind of bronzy, brassy kind of color and just pat that sort of on the lid. This is a hot mess of a look, I will say that, but I ended up just deciding that I needed to try every single color in the palette. Hence why we got where we got to. The last thing I'm just gonna do is I just wanna smudge some of the blue underneath because blues are always some of my favorites. I wanna see how it goes. Beautiful. The eyeshadow palette might be my favorite part of this collection, and I am shocked by that because I really thought that the foundation, the concealer, that was where I was going to be the most drawn to, but I think it's the palette. I wish I'd got the other one now just to sort of see how it plays. I just think that there's a beautiful texture, very unique. I'm really excited about this. Next thing that I got is the Perfect Strokes Matte Liquid Liner. So it is a black liner. I assume it's a felt liner. Yeah, so it does just pull off. Oh, wow. Okay, that's a really thick, did you guys see this? It's a very thick eyeliner tip. Much thicker than I would really like, but whatever, let's just see. Maybe it's really good for control. I don't really know. So, it is very pigmented, very juicy. Actually, much easier to get a nice thin line than I thought it would be. The tip is a little bit stiff. It actually kind of reminds me of a Sharpie, to be completely honest. Maybe not so much of like the bullet of the chisel tip. But I like it. It's different. There's not a lot of flexibility in the tip that I can feel, but to be honest, I'll test it maybe on the back of my hand, but I'm not about to test it on my eye because that's a surefire way. The tip itself has a little flexibility, like the very tip, but I would say that the entire pen as an overall is not super flexible, but it is really nice. It gives a really nice, smooth, even black line. I like that it's gonna dry down matte. don't know, it seems okay. Once again, it's something that I'm gonna have to use more than once with more than one kind of eyeshadow, because some of these liners, for whatever reason, don't like to go over other shimmer shadows, but maybe this one will be fine, who really knows. But overall, it is really nice. It's definitely a different shape than I'm used to, definitely something I'm gonna need to practice with, but really nice. So I'm just using a MAC mascara just to kind of complete the eye look. And again, it's just because she doesn't have a mascara yet, although I'm sure it will be great when she does. She's still very much in the early stages, and I know that in the original launch, the palettes weren't even out yet. And they're really cool. I really like them. So 2 more products we get to play with. One is going to be the, what is this even called? Matte lip cream. It's like a really, really soft souffle. I got the shade Courage. I was really tempted to get the bright red one, and I actually kind of thought I did, but evidently I was wrong. So this is what the tip looks like. It's kind of got a more thinned out sort of a thing, but still that really nice flat edge, which is nice. Okay, here's what I will say about this. I like the color. It's very, very comfortable. I'm gonna have to see what it does by the time it mattes down, but as of right now, it doesn't feel super drying. It wasn't dragging like some matte lipstick do, even initially. And it's got kind of like a whipped sort of a texture. It reminds me a little bit of the NARS Velvet Lip Glides or of the NYX like soft matte lip creams, like that sort of like whipped, really, really soft, kind of blurred out. But it's very, very pigmented, very, very easy to use. I actually really like the shape of the applicator. It is starting to, you know what I'm kind of noticing is that when it says matte, it might not mean like it dries down completely. It just looks matte. There is no shine to this. It's very flat and matte as you would expect, but still very comfortable, still kind of moves around, slides around a little bit on the lips, but not in a way that like you would worry about it going outside your lip line, just in a really comfortable way that you wouldn't worry about it completely drying and sucking all the moisture out of your lips and making them look really cracked. The last thing that we have is the Always an Optimist 4-in-1 setting spray. I need to know what the 4-in-1 is. Hold on. Glow boosting mist that hydrates, primes, sets, and refreshes skin. So this is obviously going to be used in this case as a setting spray, but you could also use it as a primer spray or, you know, a refreshing spray on a hot day, whatever you really wanted. This is what it looks like. It's got like a kind of shorter nozzle that I'm used to, which I kind of like because it means that like, you know, the higher, like a soap, the higher that the pump sits, the more product you're going to get out. So maybe this will be a little bit more sparing with the product. Okay, so it is sparing. It's a very fine mist. It has a scent to it. It smells sort of florally, but I'm not a floral scent kind of person. It isn't an overwhelming floral scent. It's just sort of there, if you know what I mean. But that is this video. So other than the fact of the issues of the applicator, as in me, the person using them, just a really quick recap of what we used today. The primer, really, really nice. Really like that texture. Would be really interested to see how it works underneath some other foundations. So I will be testing that out over the coming month or so. The foundation, I'm not 100% sold on. I think it might take a little bit more effort on my part to try and do it a little bit more correctly. Maybe use a little more, maybe use a little less. Maybe try applying it more like put the dough foot into my little pan and pick it up that way rather than putting it straight on my face. I did notice it separating a little bit in and around my nose, also in between my eyebrows. I always get some separation there, but I'm finding that it's doing it a little bit more. It did take down some of the redness in my nose, although it has since come back. And again, it canceled out some of the issues I was having on my chin. The concealer is a very lightweight concealer in my opinion. From a distance, it does look okay, but I don't know. I would have liked a little bit more coverage, particularly under my eyes. Maybe, again, that's just applicator error. I might just need to test it out a little bit more. But having said that about the one I put under my eyes, I did like the way that the darker color, the one that was the same as my foundation, covered up some of that breakout on my chin. It is still there. You can definitely still see it, but it is certainly minimized. Whoopsies. Then there was the blush. Big fan of the blush. Again, I think I'm gonna have to figure out what the best way for me is to apply that. Maybe with my fingers, not the best way, maybe putting a little bit on a beauty blender, or if I'm gonna use my fingers, put it straight onto my fingers rather than onto my face and kind of blend out that way. It ended up working out in the end. I was able to get it smoothed out and blended out without it being too low. But again, that's just gonna take practice. Again, really big fan of the felt tip liner. I think it's really, really good. I'm into the packaging quite a bit. It kind of looks like a pencil. Eyebrow pencil, big fan. Again, I'm gonna have to do some more practicing. I think the overall theme of this is that the textures and formulas to this collection are different. They are, you know, not 100% new, innovative, but certainly different than a lot of things that I have tried. And they have their own little quirks to them. And just like any new makeup or any new formula that anybody tries, it takes some getting used to. It takes some trying. The highlighter, I'd be interested to see how it would work mixed in with some foundations. And I am a big fan of the eyeshadow palette. Honestly, I didn't think that I would be. I thought that there was some, you know, basically, when I looked at it at first, I was like, ooh, those colors might be really difficult to work with. I'm not sure that I like an all shimmer, but as far as an all shimmer goes, I'm really into the formula of these. I think it's very interesting. The texture is beautiful and they look gorgeous on the eyes. I think, again, it's just gonna be me getting some used to it. Setting spray. It dried down completely really quickly, which is nice. It didn't budge any of the makeup. It feels very refreshing, very hydrating. It feels like my makeup is not going anywhere. If that changes, I will let you guys know at a later time. And the lip cream, again, it now has pretty much dried down, but it still feels very soft, very comfortable, very moisturized, hydrating on the lips. Big fans. So overall, I would say that this video was a complete success for me, at least. I found a lot of new products that I could see really easily becoming some of my favorites. And even though not everything was a complete knock it out of the park product, it might just be me, and it's always really nice to get to try some new things. So I will link all of the products that I used down below. I think the VIB Rouge sale is over now, but you can definitely still get them on Sephora and also on the Rare Beauty website if you would rather go that way. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you have had any success or failure with any of these products. Let me know if you had any of the same issues I did and how you maybe remedied them. And if you're not and you would like to be, then subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.